Hi everyone, I'm Logan from FanAmp and I am here with Hannah. Welcome Hannah,
Hiya.
it's so great to have you. We are so excited to have you on board and I can't wait to talk to you and learn more about how you got into racing and all the things that you have upcoming for this year. So let's get into it. My first starting question would just be how you got into racing and how you found out about Formula Woman. So what was kind of like your stepping points to get to where you are now?
My dad's a mechanic, so I grew up around cars, and I'm pretty sure as soon as I could start walking, he took advantage of that and was like, "You're gonna help me with cars." So I spent a lot of time around cars, not so much racing, but I did play like video games with racing and watching racing on TV. Formula Woman, I actually found out about it, I think it was 2021 towards the end. And I seen the ad on Instagram and I was like, oh my god, this looks so cool. It's all girls, it's all cars. I love it, I want it. So I signed up and I was like, it is what it is. Whatever happens, happens. But it was honestly one of the best decisions I could have made.
Wow, that's amazing. Had you done any like racing prior to that, or was Formula
No.
Women your kind of first?
No, I had my driving license, so I was able to drive, and I always loved cars and seeing the done up and modified cars and the race cars. But I'd never actually stepped foot into it.
Right.
But I did my first track day with Formula Woman in Cadwell Park with Graham actually,
Okay.
and I was like, right, that's it. I've gotten a taste for it. I want to do this. This is something I love. Like everything in my head, it could be so buzzy, and then I'll get in the car on the track, and I'm like, what problems? I don't have problems. I'm good.
I love that. What did your dad say when you told him that you were signing up for that? Was he over the moon or was he scared?
He was kind of shocked,
Mhm.
but I think he understood the fact that I love cars so much. It was one of his dreams when he was younger, but obviously he didn't have the opportunities in any way, shape, or form. And the fact that I did get an opportunity like that, he was kind of shocked that it was a girl that was
Yeah,
getting into racing. But my whole family is so supportive of my decision to take this further.
that's so exciting. So you joined Formula Women in 2021, right?
Yeah, so I did the online application through their website towards the end, and then the next year I had done my first track day.
Okay, so you did the boot tour then, I'm assuming, right? Okay. So what did that consist of? Kind of walk me through that process.
So it was actually really, really hands on in the boot tour because we did the track day, we did a simulator day, and we did karting as far as I can remember. And oh my god, I was like, this is so not what I was expecting. This is so much more professional and like the places we went to iZone and I've never seen like they have the single seater setup, but it's like half a car up on the simulator and a big massive screen and I was like, "Oh my god." Like
Wow.
I've never seen anything like this before. And then we did another simulator training, but it was karting, and they had the actual car up on the move, like the force feedback and everything is on it, so it'll kind of tilt you a little bit.
Yeah.
It literally, you're just like, right, this just feels like I'm on track, like outside, but I'm just not getting soaked by the rain.
Wow. That's incredible. That's such a great experience to get you on track. I feel like it somewhat preps you, but I mean, it's obviously so much different once you get into the actual car, I'm sure.
I think it helps you push yourself a little bit further because you know you're not actually in the car, and it gets you used to how the car would react and what way to go on track before you actually get in the car and you're like, right, I obviously can't push as hard because if something goes wrong, you know, that there is the possibility at all times for something to go wrong, but you have more kind of background knowledge, so you know, right, where are my limits before I test the car's limits.
Okay, that makes sense. So, how long was that boot tour before you kind of were able to get on track and then participate in a race?
I didn't start racing until last year. I did
Okay.
my first competitive season. I did it in Ireland in the Fiesta Z-Tech Championship. So
Wow.
it was a good year before I actually started racing and got myself my license.
So, what was the process like up until that point, basically? Was it just track days, training days? What did you have to do to get that specific license?
So the way the licenses are done in Ireland is a little bit different. So I did a lot of training and track days with Formula Women, so boot tours, track days, but over here it's a 1 day course. So you go in and they give you the theory, and then you have a written exam and a practical exam, and then by the end of it you find out did you pass or did you not. So it was actually pretty cool because I went in and I was like, I know some of this stuff from doing the Formula Woman. I know the flags, I know my track lines and stuff like that. So I was okay, but then it got to the test, and I don't do well in written tests. I can honestly admit that. But I was like, this is okay. And then we got to the car, and I was like, yeah, no, this is fine, fine.
Yeah.
And then the instructor that day, she just goes, yeah, you passed. Why were you worried? And I was like, just a little bit, for absolutely no reason.
Tests are always way more nerve wracking. You could know everything like the back of your hand, and it would be like, "Oh, I'm nervous still."
Nerves get the best of me sometimes, I will admit.
Well, they didn't this time, which is great. So you've got your license, you've been racing. So that was your first race last year. Have you done a race since then, or is
I
it?
did the full season, so we started in around April time, and then the last race was around October time. So it was one race a month.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a long season.
Yeah, but it wasn't long enough for me because it was like one race a month, really.
Yeah, yeah. Are there training days before those race days?
They do have practice days.
Okay.
So our class's race day was a Sunday. So you would have the opportunity to test the car or practice with the car on the Friday. I work full time, so I wasn't able to always take part, but I would
Mhm.
take advantage of the track days that the racetrack was holding. So I would kind of go in on a day, and I could be from 9 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock trying to test as best as I can.
Wow,
It's a lot, but it was well worth it in the end.
definitely. Those are long days. Good for you, especially on top of a full-time job. That's a lot of commitment, but it really shows your dedication to it. That's amazing.
I think that's one thing I pride myself on. I work a full time job, and I'm still trying to do my best in making my way into a career in motorsport because it's something I genuinely just it doesn't feel like a job. It doesn't feel like it's work. It just feels fun, and I
Yeah.
would love to have fun for the rest of my working life.
What do you do for your actual job?
I'm a civil servant, so I work for the Department of Business at the moment.
Wow, good for you. That is so much. I admire you so much with everything you've got going on. That's incredible.
Thank you.
That's a lot of different things to juggle, I'm sure.
It gets a bit much sometimes. My mom has actually caught me falling asleep with my phone in my hand in the middle of an email before. So it definitely takes a toll when you have a lot going on at the same time.
Mhm.
But I think if you really want to get somewhere, you have to show your dedication and commitment all the time, not just sometimes.
Yeah,
Because I feel like that's how you'll get your end result.
paying off for sure. So your work is not going unnoticed.
I'm glad to hear that. Sorry, I'm blushing.
I guess I was kind of wondering too. So you mentioned that your dad was a mechanic, so you've always like grown up around cars. But I was wondering if you've had a female inspiration in the motorsport world or anyone else that you've kind of like looked up to.
The motorsport world, not really. As I said, it was kind of always for boys when I was growing up,
Yeah.
and it was kind of like, oh, there's not anybody I can look up to. But since I've started looking into it more, I have found people that I can look up to,
Mhm.
both in Ireland and abroad, and the things these girls get up to, I'm just like, oh my god, I wish I could do what you were doing. Like, it's
Yeah.
amazing. But I think my earliest memory of seeing a female in a race car is probably from Fast and Furious. Not gonna lie.
I mean, I probably same if I really think about it.
And
That's
funny
hilarious.
enough, I now own a pink car, so
She was a good inspiration. Well, hopefully soon there's going to be more role models for young drivers to look up to and young girls, and I think you are an amazing candidate for that. With your racing story and everything, coming from basically never having done it and then putting yourself out there, juggling a full time job and doing a full racing series is like, that's incredible. So,
thank
yeah,
you.
you're definitely doing the female racing world proud.
Thank you.
Have you participated in any Formula Women events, like any competitions?
2022, I did their competition, and that was the only one I've really done, like, competition wise with them. But I did well enough that I was chosen to be an Irish representative. So I think I did pretty well. I mean, on the day, I was like, I could have done so much better. And I was like, really. mean to myself. I was like, you could have done so much better and you know it. But then that was announced and I was like, oh, well, I didn't do as bad as I thought I did.
So,
Yeah.
are you going to be a part of the Nations Cup then, or is that not something you'll
Yes.
be? Oh my gosh! Wow,
I'm
that
so
was so
excited. Like, I cannot wait. I think the fact that we knew about it is just, it's been slowly building our adrenaline up. And the closer the date gets, the more we're like, oh my God, it's really happening. It's, oh my God.
I know it's announcement week for that too. So I feel like once it's out into the ether for everyone, it's real. Like it is real. You are going and you are racing in the Middle East.
When I told my mom, she actually cried. She was like, you've never done anything like this before, and now you're representing your country. And I was like, yeah. Like
Yeah.
it still hasn't hit me properly yet, but it's just it's an honor to even be considered for that kind of thing. It's just it's something I never thought I'd be able to do, but the fact that I'm putting dedication forward to be able to do it is just I'm super proud of myself.
You should be. That is incredible. And you're paving the way for so many other girls who want to get into racing but are kind of scared to do it. You are such a great role model in that respect.
Thank you. But there, honestly, like I feel like girls should be able to just go, this is what I'm interested in. I don't care that it's a male dominated industry. I should be able to be able to take part in something that I'm good at because I'm good at it or because I have an interest in it. And I think it's just a matter of starting the conversation.
Mhm.
And then from there it'll work its way around, but it's just a matter of going, "Hi, my name is and I like."
Yes, agreed. Agreed. Yeah, it's going to be a big event.
It's starting to kick in slowly.
I'm sure. I'm sure the anticipation is killing you.
I just can't wait to get back in the car, to be honest with you. Like, I know it is the waiting game at the moment, but I know the second I get into the car, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna do my best. That's all I can do. Let's go have fun.
So for that specific event, it's radical cars, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever driven one of those before?
I did one training day last year, near the end of last year. I didn't want to come home. The feeling when you're in the radicals is just something else. Like, I raced the Fiesta Z-Tex. You're fully caged in. It's a Fiesta car. But then the radicals being open top, I was like, this is so weird. I'm literally one with the wind hitting me in the face. And I was just like, this is amazing. Like, this should be, like, oh my god. Like, I genuinely came home and I was like, I can't believe I did that. But I couldn't wait to get back in the car. And I think that, I think most of the girls who are doing it would say the same thing. It's not about, you know, the money. Well, it is about the money because it's expensive, but it's not about the money that you give. It's more or less the feeling you get when you're actually behind the wheel
Mhm.
and you're one with the car and you're like, let's go.
So before the Nations Cup, are you going to have any sort of training days in the radical cars, or is it kind of like you show up, you race?
I'm gonna try do as many training days as I can because I know that will be super helpful on the day.
Hmm.
But if I get the opportunity to race between those training days, I will 100% jump at the chance. But at the moment, with sponsorships and stuff like that, it doesn't look like I'll be racing at home. But
Okay.
if there's any kind of races that even if it's just one race a season, or maybe even with Formula Woman if I do a sprint race, but I don't think I'll be doing a full season this year. Trying to save up as much as I can for for Nations Cup.
Definitely. I was kind of wondering as well what you feel has been some of the biggest challenges you faced being a female racer.
I think my biggest challenge was actually when I started racing in the Fiestas because it's obviously not just girls. It's everybody and anybody who has a competition license can compete. And I think it was the men kind of obviously they have a lot more experience and I was like a novice in my very first kind of competition. It does kind of get at you when they use defensive moves and you're like trying to figure it out. But other than that, it's sponsorships. I found it's like trying to prove you can do it just as much as a guy because they've been sponsoring guys for years upon years upon years, and now that more girls are getting into racing and needing sponsorship to be able to continue on, I find a lot of it is very, we've already got our budget from last year with the lads and there's nothing left over for new sponsors and stuff like that, and I think that's my biggest struggle.
Okay.
But surprisingly enough, most of the lads I've talked to are actually supportive of girls getting further in racing.
Well, that's very promising.
It's promising, but it'd be nice if businesses were like that too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the sponsorships, I can't even imagine. It's having to sell yourself, but not even just sell yourself. You're selling the idea of you being in their race car. Like, in my mind, I would think, why wouldn't a brand want to be kind of like taking steps forward in like incorporating more women into racing? But I guess some are scared to do that or aren't ready to take that step. So it's just,
Exactly. I think a lot of it is fear, though, fear of the unknown, because obviously it's not very globalized. Like there is the Formula One Academy now that's
yeah,
literally paving the way for girls, but I think there could be a lot more done.
yeah.
Even like not small businesses, but kind of motor factors and stuff like that. They should be able to see it as equal potential
Hmm.
and be like, right, based off your skill that you've shown this far, could we invest in you? But I mean, that might be a whole business plan type thing. So
Yeah. The bottom line is that more businesses need to take the risk, at least, in backing a female driver. And if it doesn't
exactly,
work,
because
at least we tried.
they might just be surprised with the results.
Hmm.
Like a lot of
Exactly.
girls are not afraid to push it to the limit.
No, exactly. And I feel like Formula Women as kind of a program has really demonstrated that. There's been countless drivers who have made it out and gone on to race in different series, or maybe they haven't yet, but they're at least pursuing that. And so
Yeah.
they're showing their determination and their drive, and clearly they've got skill if they're making it this far. So it's not as big a risk as many companies might think.
I think it's just a matter of having someone backing you and being like, look, they can do it. You
Yeah.
just have to give them the chance to do it and to prove it. Because lots of girls that haven't had experience before Formula Woman, they're as you said, they're doing so well.
Hmm.
All they needed was one person to believe in them and show them that they could do it. And they were like, right, I'm going to take this and I'm going to take it as far as I possibly can.
Yeah.
And that was all they needed. Just a little push.
I agree. I agree. And it's frustrating because we can say this as much as we want, but it hasn't changed yet. I mean, I think in recent years there have been definitely like changes and steps in the right direction to getting where we hope we can see more females in the motorsport world, but it's slow. It's too slow.
But at the same time, I think maybe slow is what we need so we don't put people into shock. Because if it was to happen overnight, I think a lot of people would be way too shocked.
Yes, you're so right. Yeah, you're right. Do you watch any racing? Like, are you a Formula One fan or do you watch
I
IndyCar?
am. I actually watched, I missed the qualifying due to work, but I got to see the race. And
Oh,
I was
great.
on my toes the whole time.
Do you find since you've gotten into racing, when you watch a racing series, you notice certain things that maybe a regular fan might not?
Sometimes I feel like when I'm looking at their defensive moves or their corners, I'm kind of comparing what I would have done.
Okay.
Obviously, my skills are nowhere compared to their massive skills, but it's just interesting how different brains who race would consider different corners.
Who's your team or who's your driver?
I don't know, I fluctuate a lot. I don't have a favorite. I'm just kind of enjoying it all at the same time. But
Yeah.
I was kind of rooting for Ferrari. I said it kind of near the beginning of the race to my mom. I was like, 1, 2 Red Bull, 3, 4 Ferrari. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know. They had a pretty okay season last year, but we'll see what it's like this year. And then I looked at it and I was like, hey man, look who's 3 and 4.
Yeah. Wow, that's a good prediction. I was kind of wondering as well, what is your biggest dream or goal moving forward as a female racing driver?
I think my goal would be just to take it as far as humanly possible.
Yeah.
Whether that be, with Nations Cup, whether that be further on, maybe even just racing at home, if that's what it is what it is. But I want to take it as far as possible and do as much training and push my potential to beyond my limits and just see what happens. And I'm just excited for the journey, really. Like, if I have the skill to take it, like, to a huge level, great,
Mhm.
amazing. If I don't, I'm not going to be too hard on myself because at the end of the day, if I am, that might take the enjoyment out of it. Like, don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, I'm still going to push, 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 but just not too far beyond my limits where it's a point of no return because I think a lot of people who are into motorsport love it for the simple fact it's fun and it's something they enjoy doing. Everything else after that is a bonus.
Yeah. I think that's a great mentality, and I think motorsport is such a mentally demanding sport as well that if you kind of like don't start off with a healthy, I guess, thought process or dynamic with it, then sometimes it can get very toxic, and then you lose your love for it, which is never good. So I think you're definitely approaching it the right way.
I think it's a very steep hill for burnout quickly though.
Mm-hmm.
If you like overstress yourself about results and overstress yourself about tactics and where you want to go, you'll just end up burning yourself out and then you're just like, you know what, I give up. I don't want to do it
Yeah.
anymore. And I don't think it should be that way. You should enjoy the whole thing wherever whatever route it takes you, whatever track it takes you on.
Yeah.
Just stick to it.
I was also wondering what you feel has been one of your biggest accomplishments since becoming a racing driver, or like one of your proudest moments.
I think one of my proudest moments is actually being able to say that I'm taking part in the Nations Cup to represent my country. Like, if you asked me that a few years ago, I'm like, no, that's not possible. Like, that there's nothing you could possibly do to get to that stage.
Mm-hmm.
And now being able to say I'm going to represent my country in the Nations Cup, the first ever Nations Cup, I'm just like, I'm so proud of myself for being able to push so much to get to that. I still don't believe it sometimes that I'm actually going to be taking part in such an amazing step forward, but it's my proudest moment so far. There
I
may
think
be more.
I think that's a great proud moment. Yeah, getting to represent your country in anything is such an honor, and doing it for something that you love so much and kind of, I guess, didn't really expect. It kind of came about, so that's incredible. That makes it even more special.
Like I went into Formula One to do the competition for the GT racing for the chance at a GT seat.
Mhm.
I came out with something else that was just oh my god. So expect the unexpected in motorsport.
Yeah, I think that's a very good motto. I guess that honestly kind of leads me to my last question, which would just be what advice do you have for other women who are looking to kind of follow in your footsteps, get into racing? What should be their first step if they want to become a racing driver?
Reaching out, I think, is a massive one. Just having the conversation, being able to say, hey, you're a motorsport. I'm really interested in motorsport. How do I get started? And then you can get so much advice. And personally, if someone was to reach out to me, I would literally tell them everything I've done. So, how to get your competition license, depending on your age, because if you're under 18, I think you still have to get your parents to sign for you to get your license. But you can race in the mini juniors. So, there is always a possibility in getting started. You just have to have enough dedication to put the first foot forward. Other than that, everything else will just come with time, but it's just having the conversation, how do I get started? If it's joining the Formula Woman community, which is a great step because it's become such a big community of women just trying to support each other and help each other in motorsport that I think it's a great first step to just be able to say, "Hey, I'm new. What do I do?"
I think you're so right about that. Just reaching out and talking to people who have gone through the process or are interested in it as well, like finding common ground with someone like that. I feel like it's the best way to learn and get motivated to do things. And it kind of eliminates that kind of aspect of fear, I would say, too, where you
Yeah.
find someone else who is also trying to do it and you're like, okay, okay, like I'm not alone in this.
I think it's really important because I know when I first started, I was afraid to reach out to people in case it was, you know, they're so far in their journey and I'm just starting. Why would they talk to me? It's not like that at all. It's really friendly and it's so helpful that it's just think about it like saying it to your best friend. Oh, I want to start racing. Literally everybody I've ever met or talked to has been so helpful in the journey, and you get some advice that you would never think was even a possibility.
Did you, before finding Formula Women, did you reach out to anyone, or was Formula Woman your like very first?
Formula Woman was my way in.
Okay,
That was my first step
yeah,
because I was into cars and I am a car enthusiast. I love my cars, but it was more so, oh, you have a nice car, you have a nice car, but it wasn't really anything about racing.
hmm,
So once I found Formula Woman, I was like, oh my god, there's a whole community just for racing.
yeah.
So that's kind of how I went into it. And then once I started doing track days, I found more people on Instagram that were into racing and competitively racing. You know, I'd follow them and follow their journey along, and I'm like, oh my god, she's doing so well. And like, women should empower other women,
Hmm.
no matter what stage you're at. So I think that's a big thing. It's just girls can do it, girls will do it. We just have to kind of help each other sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. I think sometimes when you're almost looking from the outside too, it feels like there's no one doing it. You don't know who to reach out to. It seems impossible. And the second you get your foot in the door, you find so many more people who are in the exact same position as you. So it's really just making that initial first step, I guess.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, this has been so great. I was wondering, I guess, if you have any kind of last thoughts, where people can find you and follow along on your journey.
Um, I think the easiest place to find me is probably on social media.
Hmm.
Um, my tag's a little funny. Don't hate on it. It's been there for a long, long time. Lil Fuzzball Celsie. So if you type that up, I'm sure it'll come up. I can give you the details as well on the spelling and stuff. Other than that, I guess I'll see everyone on track.
Yeah. This has been so great. Thank you so much for coming on. I've loved hearing everything and chatting with you, and I am so excited to follow along on your journey and see you race in Dubai.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm genuinely honored for the opportunity and to be asked to do an interview. I'm over the moon for it, and thank you so much.